Canada is famous for many things: its politeness, its stunning wilderness, its endless forests and frozen north. What it is not famous for is being dangerous. And yet, across those vast landscapes lives a surprising collection of animals that injure and kill people every year, some of them exactly the giants you would expect, and several you would never guess in 100 years. So we are counting down 10 of the most dangerous animals in Canada, from a bird you have probably fed in a park to the one true predator that will actively hunt a human being. And a quick word before we start, because this ranking is not simply about size or ferocity. It weighs how much harm each animal actually causes against how likely you are to ever cross its path, which is exactly why the order may not be what you expect. And we begin with an animal that might make you laugh until it comes at you. Starting at number 10 is a creature that seems almost comically out of place on a list like this, the Canada goose. This large, familiar bird, with its black neck and white cheeks, is a national symbol found in parks, golf courses, and ponds all across the country. And it is far more aggressive than its reputation suggests. Canada geese are fiercely protective of their nests and goslings, and during the spring breeding season they will not hesitate to attack a human who wanders too close. An angry goose will lower its head, hiss, spread its wings to appear larger, and charge, biting and beating with surprisingly powerful wings. While a goose attack sounds funny, the injuries are real. People have been knocked over, bruised and hurt, and there are cases of serious harm when victims fall or flee into danger. Geese have even been a genuine aviation hazard, famously bringing down an airliner that was forced to land in New York's Hudson River after a flock was sucked into its engines. What surprises most people is just how much force a goose can generate. Their wings have a bony spur at the joint, and a determined bird can beat hard enough to leave bruises, break skin, and even fracture a small bone, while the real risk often comes from the panic of the attack, sending people stumbling backward off ledges into traffic or over railings. The Canada goose earns its spot as a reminder that danger does not always come with fangs. Sometimes it comes with feathers and a very bad attitude. At number 9 is another animal almost no one would expect, the beaver. Canada's iconic national animal, the industrious dam-building beaver, seems like the gentlest creature imaginable. But it is the second largest rodent in the world, and it comes equipped with a serious set of tools. A beaver's front teeth never stop growing, kept sharp by constant gnawing, and they are powerful enough to fell entire trees. Turned on a human, those same teeth can inflict deep, dangerous wounds. Beavers are normally shy and avoid people, but a cornered or rabid beaver can become shockingly aggressive, and there is at least one documented case of a man being killed by a beaver bite when the animal severed an artery in his leg. They are most dangerous when they feel trapped, particularly in the water, where they are strong swimmers and hold every advantage. To appreciate the power behind those teeth, consider that a beaver can chew through a tree trunk as thick as a person's leg in a single night. The same continuously growing incisors, hardened with iron that gives them their orange color, turn the animal into a living chainsaw, and while attacks on humans are extremely rare, when they happen they can be shockingly severe. It is a genuinely startling entry. The friendly face of Canadian wildlife, armed with wood-cutting teeth and, on rare occasions, a temper to match. At number 8 is a living relic with a bite like a bear trap, the snapping turtle. Lurking on the muddy bottoms of lakes, rivers, and ponds across eastern Canada, the snapping turtle is an ancient armored ambush predator, and it is armed with a powerful hooked beak and a lightning-fast strike. In the water, snapping turtles are generally calm and will simply swim away from people. But on land, where they feel vulnerable and cannot retreat fully into their shells, they become defensive and aggressive, lunging and snapping with a speed that catches everyone off guard. Their jaws are strong enough to cause serious damage to a careless hand or finger, delivering deep lacerations, and the largest individuals can weigh well over 30 pounds. Most injuries happen when well-meaning people try to pick one up, often to move it off a road and get a nasty surprise for their trouble. There is a common misconception that you can safely pick up a snapping turtle by its tail, but doing so can seriously injure the animal's spine, and it puts your hand right within reach of a neck that can stretch and whip backward with astonishing flexibility, reaching much farther than anyone expects. The snapping turtle is a reminder that some of Canada's oldest and most primitive-looking animals are still perfectly equipped to defend themselves, and that a slow-moving reptile can strike faster than you can pull your hand away. At number 7 is a predator you will almost certainly never see, the Canada lynx. This elusive wild cat haunts the boreal forests of the north, instantly recognizable by its thick gray coat, tufted ears, and enormous snowshoe-like paws that let it hunt across deep snow. Let's be honest about the danger here. The lynx is a shy, secretive animal that hunts snowshoe hares and actively avoids humans, and attacks on people are exceptionally rare. For the most part, you could count yourself lucky just to glimpse one. But it is still a wild predator, equipped with sharp claws and teeth, and in the very rare cases where a lynx has become cornered, sick, or habituated, it has been known to lash out. Its inclusion here is less about raw danger and more about respect, a reminder that Canada's quiet forests are home to capable predators moving unseen through the trees. In a strange way, the lynx's fate is tied almost entirely to a single animal, the snowshoe hare, which makes up the overwhelming majority of its diet. When hare numbers crash every decade or so, lynx populations crash right along with them, a boom-and-bust cycle so reliable that scientists have studied it for over a century. The lynx is the ghost of the North, a beautiful and rarely dangerous cat that most Canadians will live their entire lives without ever encountering. At number 6 is a shaggy giant of the Arctic that is far more formidable than it looks, the muskox. A survivor of the Ice Age, the muskox roams the frozen tundra of northern Canada, wrapped in a thick coat of hair that reaches almost to the ground. Standing up to 5 feet at the shoulder and weighing up to 900 pounds, these powerful animals are built like tanks, with a broad set of curved horns sweeping down and out from a heavy plate of bone across the forehead. When threatened, muskoxen form a defensive circle, horns facing outward to protect their young from wolves, their main natural predator. But they will also charge a perceived threat, and a muskox charge is a genuinely dangerous thing, delivered by hundreds of pounds of muscle and bone at surprising speed. As more people venture into the Arctic to work and explore, encounters have increased, and there have been reports of muskoxen charging and injuring humans who got too close. One remarkable detail about the muskox is its coat. Beneath the long outer guard hairs lies a layer of underwool called kiviot, one of the warmest natural fibers in the world, finer and warmer than the best sheep's wool, which is exactly how the animal survives Arctic winters that would kill almost anything else. Ancient, powerful, and perfectly armored against the harshest environment on Earth, the muskox is a formidable animal that demands a wide berth. Before we reach the top 5, if you are enjoying this journey through Canada's wild side, a quick subscribe really does help the channel keep going. Now, back to the countdown, where the animals get bigger and the danger gets very real. At number 5 is a giant of the frozen coasts, one of the few animals capable of taking on a polar bear, the walrus. Weighing up to 1.5 tons and armed with tusks that can grow to a meter long, the walrus is an enormous marine mammal of the Canadian Arctic, and despite its blubbery, lumbering appearance on land, it is a powerful and occasionally dangerous animal. Walruses are generally not aggressive toward people, but they are intensely protective and easily startled, and a threatened walrus is a serious problem, especially for anyone in a small boat. There are documented accounts of walruses using their massive tusks to puncture and sink boats and kayaks that ventured too close, tipping people into the freezing Arctic water, which is itself a deadly threat. On land, a charging walrus can move with surprising speed, and its sheer bulk makes it impossible to stop. Walruses are also deeply social animals that haul out onto ice and shorelines in enormous herds, and that group behavior can multiply the danger because a single startled animal can trigger a panicked stampede toward the water, crushing anything in its path as tons of blubber and bones surge across the ice. It is not a hunter of humans, but the combination of enormous size, long tusks, and unpredictable temper makes the walrus one of the most genuinely dangerous animals along Canada's northern shores. At number 4 is Canada's only truly venomous snake in its most populated regions, the Massasauga rattlesnake. Found in parts of Ontario, this small, shy rattlesnake is a genuine pit viper, complete with heat-sensing pits and a rattle on its tail, though its rattle is quieter and higher-pitched than that of its larger American cousins. The Massasauga wants nothing to do with people. It is secretive, well camouflaged, and its first instinct is always to hide or flee. Almost every bite happens when the snake is accidentally stepped on or deliberately handled. But make no mistake, its venom is potent, a cytotoxin that destroys tissue and interferes with blood clotting, and a bite is a serious medical emergency requiring immediate anti-venom. There have been only 2 recorded deaths from Massasauga bites in Ontario's history, and none in the last half-century, thanks to modern medical care. What many people do not realize is that the Massasauga is now a threatened species in Canada, its wetland and prairie habitats steadily lost to development, which means the snake most Canadians fear is actually far more at risk from us than we are from it, and encounters are becoming rarer with each passing year. Still, as the only dangerously venomous snake many Canadians will ever encounter, the Massasauga holds a well-earned place on this list, a small, quiet reptile carrying a genuinely dangerous bite. At number 3 is the largest land animal in North America, a giant that has recovered from the very edge of extinction, the wood bison. Larger even than its plains cousin, the wood bison can weigh over 2,000 pounds, and it roams the forests and meadows of northern British Columbia, Alberta, the Yukon, and the Northwest Territories. Like all bison, it looks deceptively slow and docile as it grazes, which is precisely what makes it so dangerous. A wood bison can charge at over 30 miles per hour, pivoting and accelerating with a speed that seems impossible for an animal so massive. The greatest danger comes from vehicle collisions on remote northern highways, where striking a bison the size of a small car at night can be fatal for everyone involved. But they are also perfectly capable of charging and goring a person who ventures too close, and their unpredictable temperament means they should never be approached. The story of the wood bison's survival is genuinely remarkable. By the early 20th century, the subspecies had been hunted so relentlessly that only a few hundred remained, and it was very nearly lost forever before determined conservation efforts pulled it back from the edge and slowly rebuilt its herds across the north. Powerful, enormous, and a genuine conservation triumph, the wood bison is a magnificent animal that commands enormous respect and plenty of distance. At number 2 is the animal that, by the numbers, is the deadliest in all of Canada, and it is one nobody ever guesses: the moose. Ask people to name Canada's most dangerous animal, and they will say bear or wolf. Almost no one says moose. And yet, the moose is responsible for more human deaths in Canada than nearly any other animal, and the reason is the road. A bull moose can stand nearly 7 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh up to 1,500 pounds, with most of that weight carried high on long legs. When a car strikes a moose, the legs are swept out, and the enormous body crashes directly through the windshield into the passenger compartment, with devastating results. In some provinces, there are hundreds of moose vehicle collisions every single year. Beyond the roads, moose can also be dangerous on foot. They are large, unpredictable, and during the fall rut, or when protecting a calf, a moose will charge, kick, and stomp a person with tremendous force. There is a particular danger with moose on the road that makes them so much deadlier than smaller animals. Because their bodies sit so high off the ground, a car's headlights often shine straight underneath them, leaving the dark bulk of the animal nearly invisible until the very last second, far too late for a driver traveling at highway speed to react. It is the perfect Canadian twist. The deadliest animal in the country is not a fearsome predator at all, but a gangly, awkward-looking member of the deer family. And at number 1, the true apex predator of the Canadian Arctic, and the only animal on this entire list that will actively hunt a human as prey, the polar bear. The largest land carnivore on Earth, a male polar bear can weigh over 1,500 pounds and stand more than 10 feet tall on its hind legs, and roughly 2/3 of the world's polar bears live in Canada. What sets the polar bear apart from every other animal we have discussed is its relationship with humans. Bears like the black bear generally attack out of fear or to defend their young. The polar bear, an animal evolved to hunt seals across a barren landscape with little other food, is one of the very few creatures on the planet that may stalk and kill a person simply because it is hungry. In the harsh Arctic environment, a polar bear is a relentless, powerful, and intelligent hunter, perfectly camouflaged against the snow and capable of moving with terrifying speed. Fatal encounters are rare only because so few people live in its remote domain. But for those who do, the polar bear is a constant and deadly threat. Climate change is now adding a dangerous new dimension to this threat. As Arctic sea ice melts earlier each year, polar bears are stranded on land for longer, cut off from the seals they depend on, and hungry bears are increasingly wandering into northern communities in search of food, raising the risk of deadly encounters with people. Enormous, fearless, and one of the only true man-hunters left on Earth, the polar bear is, without question, the most dangerous animal in Canada. So here is the real lesson of this countdown. Canada's dangers are a study in contrasts. The animal that kills the most people is a lanky herbivore on a highway, while the one animal that might truly hunt you lives in a frozen wilderness most Canadians will never visit. In between are geese, beavers, and turtles, creatures we would never think to fear, each perfectly capable of teaching a painful lesson to anyone who gets too close. Respect, distance and awareness are what keep people safe in the wild, far more than fear ever could. Of course, there are other dangerous Canadian animals I could have included, so tell me in the comments, which one surprised you the most? Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.